I find my lack of face disturbing. Not what I was going for. How is this an improvement? This is somehow familiar. You know, I could actually work with this one. Oh, come on! I mean, I feel safe and all, but I can't even. Now you're just taking the piss. Back down. Admittedly, not the worst option. Deal with it. Like us, sir.
Oh, I do declare, I am going to murder you. Murder.
Dude. For those of you who hadn't yet worked this out, I'm actually a very silly person. Anyway, Friday, fan mail, Q&A, let's do this! First, I have some notes here. No, seriously. Not taking new commissions. So stop emailing me. Chaotic Cody. Are you really a pagans? No, not really. I have a ritual that involves the eating of Twix. I make the occasional offering to a being I refer to as Omnicron Delta, the god of bringing organization from chaos. And we burn a wicker man made out of our Christmas tree every Easter. We also do a Christmas tree, which is technically an old pagan ritual. But no, not seriously. It's more of a silly hobby for our family at this point. We all pretty much got bored with or gave up on organized religion because we find them to be silly. Sundulus 3. Hey, Cap, I modified my long strike and I had to pop off the priming bolt handle. When I strapped it back on and used it a couple of times, it fell off. What would you suggest to fix that? The downside with trying to get those bolt handles off is they do often, the internals break. The little clamps that hold the bar tend to crack. And then it does what you're describing here. There's a number of ways of fixing it, usually involving screws or super glue or epoxy. I think somebody actually does 3D print a replacement. I'm pretty sure those are on Thingiverse at this point. You might look into that. I don't know if anybody sells them, but I'm pretty sure I have seen them. Because the handle, you can just take the two screws off and take it apart, and then you could replace that portion that actually locks onto it. I would look into that. Alternatively, super glue, screws. I used a tap and die set and threaded the bar so that I could then screw the handle on, and then I just attached a bolt onto the inside. Either of those would work. Voidwalker. Captain, what do you think the best way to go about making a Nerf bolt-action rifle would be? Well, technically speaking, the long strike, long shot, and tri-strike are bolt-action. I mean, they have a bolt that you pull. But if you mean like one that's got a lever that pulls up and then pulls back and actually looks more like a World War I assault rifle, bolt-action rifle, I don't know. Busby does make a number of them, and you could probably modify one of those, but they're really not very powerful just because of the whole way that they work. So I'm not really sure what you're looking for. You'll have to ask more specifically, possibly in the comments of this, and we can discuss it next week. Ralph B. Dear Captain, how does one grow an amazing beard like your own? Time and practice and testosterone? Mine just started showing up when I was, you know, a freshman. It took many years to get to the point where I could grow one this magnificent. Obviously, my high school beard was scraggly. I referred to myself as Scruffbeard the Pirate, so... yeah, this one has been going for a while now. It will be getting trimmed soon, but for a very good cause. Not fully. I haven't fully shaved since I was 18, but it'll be getting trimmed. And then left again to grow over the winter because I like having a built-in scarf when it's cold out. Alex Price. Favorite World War I and II gun? Melee as well. For World War I have actually shot the Mauser, the German Mauser from World War I, and it is beautiful, especially being left-handed, because it had a straight bolt instead of a curved bolt, which makes it much easier to reach for a left-handed shooter. So I really like that one. I've never actually shot either the Luger or the C96 Mauser, the broom-handled Mauser, but I'm pretty sure I would like either of those. Technically, the 1911 existed at that point. I don't know how widely it was actually used by the U.S. Army. We haven't gotten to that part in the Great War yet. The Americans haven't really shown up yet. They're working on it. World War II, I'm a huge fan of the Tommy gun, and that was used in World War II. I also really like the MG42, the Browning 1919. If you want to talk big guns, for some reason I've always liked the German 88 flak gun, as well as the American howitzers. For melee, you really can't beat the German trench shovel for a melee weapon. Jack Man Meteor. Hello, Mr. Xavier. That's Captain Xavier. Surely. I've got a flag and everything. Can you tell me what is the best Nerf blaster? No, because there is no best Nerf blaster. They all are different. It depends on what you're using it for. And it's a subjective question anyway. There's no objective measure by which one measures a Nerf blaster. Are you going for range, rate of fire, accuracy, ease of reload? All of those are going to be different for different blasters. Some blasters are good one-handed, some blasters are good two-handed, some blasters are good but they take batteries, some blasters are air-powered, so it takes time to pump them up. There is no one best Nerf blaster. That is one of the things I like about this hobby, that any blaster in the right hands, or with the right modifications, or in the right situation, can be a good blaster. And it really comes down to the person using it, honestly. Creed King 18. I know that Walcom said something about this in his Stampede tag bag video. He did, but I would like to hear your thoughts on the 50-round box mag that Hasbro was going to come out with. Yeah, the original pictures for the Stampede featured what looked like a double drum mag, an actual C-mag, or a box mag, as you call it here. And I would have loved it. I imagine it would have been really complicated and probably prone to jamming, which is probably why they got rid of it. The drum mags they have are already inherently more likely to jam, so if you're trying to feed from two different spools, it would be even more likely. And so they probably just decided it wasn't worth the effort, and unfortunate. But I would love to see one if they ever did figure it out. I think it would be a lot easier to do it with Rival, honestly, which I would love to see. Ben Fultron. Captain X! I have been stuck in a barn for 3 days now and the zombie horde is breaking through the door. I have little ammunition and just ran out of food and water. In my last few hours, I have but one request. That you answer my 3 questions in next week's Q&A. First, why do your Nerf blasters need to earn their name in war? For religious reasons. I feel that naming a blaster before it has actually proven itself is a really good way to hear the war gods laugh. You know, it's kind of like in Game of Thrones when Joffrey keeps naming his swords and then they get, thrown into a river by a little girl. Things like that. If you're going to name your gun, Blood Rain 5000, and then you take it to the field and the first time you go to pull the trigger, it jams, it's going to end up with a goofy nickname by all of the people that saw it, and you're never going to get rid of that nickname. So wait until the blaster has proven itself, people have some respect for it, and then you can give it a name. Otherwise, you're just asking for mockery from the gods and from other players. Second, what religion are you? I don't have any actual religion, and I'm not going to go into that because that is a really divisive topic. And third, is there some kind of air tank that has a release built into it that can fire 4 Demolisher rockets at a decent FPS? Keep making the awesome content, because you are too legit to quit. 4 Demolishers at once? You might be able to get a Drain Blaster to have that much power, but even a Drain Blaster is probably going to have issues with 4 at once. A Titan can reasonably do 2 at once, so a Drain Blaster might be able to do 4, but you're not going to get a whole lot of range out of it. On the plus side, anything that is over there should be well and thoroughly obliterated. Stephen Marshall. Who's your favorite YouTuber? I really don't have a favorite YouTuber. There's a whole bunch of channels that I follow and listen to, but there isn't any that I would say that is my absolute favorite. My favorite channel right now is The Great War, just because it is so incredibly detailed and has so much wonderful information about World War I, which is generally kind of hard to come by. And for good reason. It's a war we'd kind of like to forget, but it's definitely one we shouldn't. RSO Stop Motion. Favorite Firefly quote? Everybody's making a fuss. Corporal Bodie. Captain, how do you get enough people in a region to call yourselves a Nerf group / club? I live in northern Minnesota, the very tip of the Iron Range, to be Pacific, and the only group is way south, and I'm not willing to drive down there. Start one, honestly. If you have friends, I mean, honestly, it's not like there's a limit that until you have 5 Nerfers, you are not an official Nerf club. No, there isn't anything that governs that. If it's you and one friend, I think you could reasonably call yourself a Nerf group. Advertising is really the big way. Look at like the local community center, talk to the city, see where you can put up flyers. If you have friends, talk to them. If you have, have your friends, talk to your friends. Facebook groups, there are usually some kind of a community bulletin board thing that most towns have. You can look into that. But really, it is going to be advertising and holding events. I mean, if you're the one who wants to do it, if you want these events to happen, you're going to have to start them. Collect enough Nerf guns so that, try to get at least enough so that if random people show up, there's extra ones to play with. That's how I ran my Nerf wars. I just went to the local city park with a huge ton of Nerf guns and blasters and let anyone who wanted to play. And eventually we had 30, 40 people showing up regularly once a week, and it was a lot of fun. And I'd like to get that going again here. I just haven't gotten around to it, and my inside man ratted out on me. But that's my recommendation. Doogman1. Greetings from Maryland, Cap. I have 3 questions for you. 1. Have you heard of Magic the Gathering? Yes. Have you played Magic? Yes. Do you own any cards decks? No. Lance Alderson. That name sounds strangely familiar. Pretty sure I've shot at him before. Do you have any recommendations for information regarding squad tactics? Are there any sources outside of military manuals, or should I start there? I would actually start with military manuals. And also, oddly enough, police manuals. They do a lot of squad tactics, especially, like breaching doors and that sort of thing, and covering entryways and covering lines of fire. HVZ, our company actually used HVZ as training for our squad tactics, though it's very, very different, the tactics that we use against zombies, because they're not shooting at you, and the tactics you would use against an opponent that also has a blaster. But both police and military manuals should have both of that. You could also probably look on YouTube. There are probably videos about close quarters squad tactics on there if you look around. I've never actually looked into them. Nolan Calfoot. What blasters would you recommend for a medium to heavy loadout? I'm currently working on making a heavy HVZ loadout, and it will focus on elite darts and use 12-round mags. I want to have 3 to 4 blasters on me. By the way, nice vid. I would recommend, well, my loadout is definitely, qualify as heavy, but it's also an NPC loadout, which is very different than what I would recommend for a player's loadout. It is kind of going to depend on how the style of the HVZ game, because I've played in lots of different HVZs, and they've all been different. For missions, it makes a lot more sense to carry a lot of heavy gear, because it's going to be an hour long usually, or more, and you're going to be going through a lot of fire. If you're just talking about the day-to-day while you're trying to get to and from class, if it's that kind of HVZ, you're going to want something light and concealable and easy to hide. But let's talk about a heavy mission loadout. I would recommend, personally, I recommend a Strife over a Rapid Strike. Full auto is not good for HVZ because you're going to go through ammo too fast. And you can put out a lot of fire with a Strife or similar, anything semi-automatic flywheel. You can put out an awful lot of firepower, but it's much more controlled than a Rapid Strike usually is going to be. So I would recommend, you know, a Strifle or something. The nice thing about a Strifle is you can have something underslung, a Magnus or a Thunderblast or a Rough Cut, something that either gives you multiple shots so you're more likely to hit, or something that fires a different type of ammo if you're playing in one of the games that different ammos do different things to different kinds of zombies. So we've played games where super zombies had to be hit by Mega or had to be hit by rockets, and so it's always good to have that option available, which a Strifle will give you. You don't really have to worry about barrel drag with HVZ because most of the game is going to take place at point-blank range, so accurate, you know, long range is not really a concern. Hitting a zombie that's far away doesn't matter because by the time they walk up to you, they're going to have respawned anyway. So that, for secondaries, oddly enough, my sidearms, my two secondary sidearms, are a pair of Strifes that I usually load with 18-round drums or 25-round drums for the mission. So I've got that just an absurd amount of firepower because I can drop my primary and pull out two of those and be firing in two directions and have lots and lots of ammo. Barring that, hammer shots, because they can be used one-handed. So a pair of hammer shots that can both be used one-handed, that's an advantage. If you can get the upgraded cylinders for them, they will hold more ammo, and that's definitely an advantage. I still argue that one of the best HVZ primaries is the Elite Alpha Trooper. It's pump action, and even in stock form, it's excellent. It doesn't require any modifications to be a good HVZ blaster. That's the big thing, is you can upgrade a Retaliator a lot more if you do the pump grade, you know, a pump kit and an extended plunger tube, but that's all huge amounts of upgrades, and that's not safe. Whereas the Alpha Trooper is excellent already. It's already pump action, it's already magazine fed, and the Elite one has perfectly good ranges for an HVZ because, once again, it's all at point blank range. So, an Alpha Trooper and a pair of hammer shots was my medium, I would call it my medium loadout for when I played a scout rather than my heavy loadout. It was an Alpha Trooper and a pair of hammer shots, so that would be my recommendation, I guess. Troll Busto in Trolland. I have a question for the next Q&A. What batteries do I use if I can't afford a LiPo charger? I'm running two Michel 2 foam blast motors, and will you ever do war footage, obviously after the snow if you have snow? Yes, I will be doing war footage come next spring. I've got my eyes on a new battle cam and some more gadgets that will hopefully allow me to do much better footage. The cameras that I had previously were just cheap and lousy, and I got what I paid for, and I deserved it. For the amount that I paid for them, I could have bought a single nice one. I bought two, one to be a gun cam and one to be a head cam, and I should have bought one good head cam, which is the plan going forward. And as for batteries, I do not know enough about the specs of the Michel 2 motors. I have some, but I've yet to play with them. So I really don't have a good answer for this. I would contact Foam Blast and ask them what they recommend. They're going to recommend that you use LiPo, because that's what the motors were designed for, specifically engineered for, was use with LiPo. You might be able to get away with IMRs, but I will not guarantee that. The motors may draw too much and cause them to overheat or blow or whatever. So I would contact Foam Blast and see what they say. How do you attach a stock attachment point to a strong arm grip? Well, hypothetically, if somebody could create one, they should be able to make one exactly like the hammer shot one, where it clamps on either side of the sling point and gives you one. Other than that, I can think of a couple of ways you could do it. A recon one, if you took off the original stock mount. Oh, you want it to be removable. Screws, epoxy. But I think a 3D printed one, if somebody has one. I couldn't find one. I know they have one for the hammer shot, but I haven't seen one for the strong arm. There may be one out there somewhere. If anybody knows of one, put it in the comments, because I'd like to get my hands on one too. 8.no. Oh, Captain, my Captain. Which do you prefer in terms of air blasters? The Lanard Big Salvo or the Busby Panther? Those aren't even remotely alike. I would love to get my hands on a Big Salvo. I have wanted one for a very long time. I had devious plans for one, and I almost had one, but then the guy just quit talking to me. Years later, turns out he's actually in our Nerf group, and I've given him grief about it, and he's already gotten rid of them by now. The Panther is really nice because it's tiny, and you can integrate it into so many things because of how small it is. So I really don't know how to compare the two. If you ask me which one I want the most right now, a Lanard Big Salvo, because I've got, I think, 4 Panthers kicking around here now that I've got plans for. Nathan Talesian. Captain Xavier, when they were accepted as payment, how many penis monkeys did it take to hire the crew? We operated on we would fight for the highest bidder. So if the highest bid was a single penis monkey, then we fought for a single penis monkey. Though we were powerful enough and large enough and good enough that we did, we generally commanded a much higher price than that. But hey, we'd fight for whoever was paying. Travis Shee, do you think Nerf will come out with a blaster with an internal tube magazine too? Maybe something along the lines of a Sharp's carbine. They technically already have the fuse fire. It was one of the Vortex blasters. Had an inline internal magazine, which is essentially what you're describing. If you're wanting one that takes darts, I wouldn't be surprised if they do. The monorail was such an excellent design and concept that it wouldn't surprise me if Nerf did come out with one. I would love it if they came out with one that was lever action like a Winchester. I would buy that in a heartbeat, especially if it had a magazine that you could top up as you went, which really shouldn't be that difficult. If you made it, side-loaded like the Winchester was, I think it could be done, and I think I would love to see Nerf do it. It would... I don't know how complicated it would be internally or how prone it would be to jamming when you're making it out of plastic and using foam, but I wouldn't think it would be all that difficult, and I would love to see it. Geeky Kitty. Captain, what is your favorite flavor of donut? I like the solid swirled cinnamon ones, or the twisted rope ones with glaze and cinnamon. I don't like ones that have filling or frosting on the top. I prefer glazed with cinnamon. Aussi aimais-tu le Canada et finalement... hi. Hello. Jesse Nunez. I have a stepsister and I don't know how to build our relationship. Any ideas? Do you have any hobbies in common? Any passions in common? Do you both like the same books, movies, games, toys? I don't know how old you or she is, but find some common ground, something that you can share, or simply take an interest in something that she has an interest in. You may not currently, but showing some interest, developing an interest, is definitely the way to go. People like to share their passions, and that's something that I love seeing in people. When you meet somebody, almost everybody has something that they are passionate about, whether it's trucks or sports or Nerf or Lego or politics or Star Wars or, everybody has something. Gardening, knitting, quilting. People who have no passion in their lives are the saddest people to meet because they have nothing to live for, nothing to look forward to. But almost everybody has something. They have that one thing where when you mention it, they light up and are excited and have things to say. Find out what makes your stepsister light up when you mention it, and go from there. QJ500. Are there people who bring stock blasters to the wars? Absolutely. I actually usually have several stock blasters because we usually do, well, not usually, we occasionally do a stock-only round. Just to kind of level the playing field, because the local group that I play with is very conscientious about that, and it's something that I really appreciate about the local group, is that they do try to make the games so that not having a top-tier modded Nerf blaster means you can't have fun. That's not a good way to play. Now, if you're in an all-NIC group and you want to run all-NIC wars where everybody's running top-tier stuff, that's fabulous. But the wars that I attend that I really enjoy are the ones that are more open to the public. And they are designed so that, yeah, you can have fun with a top-tier blaster, but it's not going to break the game. Especially since we divide up the teams randomly and half the people end up on either side anyway. So half the top tier here, half the top tier there, and then half of the stock guys are in the middle and so forth. And so there's balance in the game. And so not having the best blaster doesn't mean you can't have fun. And I think that's very, very important for the community. And yeah, like I said, I've run stock Vortex blasters, and I've done incredibly well with them. I ran a Diatron in a pistol-only round, and actually got 2 people out with a single fire because both discs fired and hit 2 people. So it really comes down to the person using it. As I have said, a man with a knife can beat a man with a machine gun if the man with the machine gun doesn't know how to take the safety off. So it really comes down to who is using it. A truly good Nerfer can get tags with a Tech 3. And a truly, an amazing Nerfer will have fun without being able to get scores with a Tech 3. They'll go out there and never get a single tag and just get obliterated and have fun. And that is a true Nerfer, in my opinion. That is what I love about Nerf, is that it is a game, it's silly, it's fun. You don't have to take it seriously, and you can have fun while getting destroyed on the battlefield. So, yeah, there you go. There's my advice for nerfing. Let's get on to the fan mail. All right, I did extra questions today because I only have the one package this week, which sounds like Lego. So for those of you who aren't into the Lego, you can go. But let's see what I have been sent. Ooh. Another Lego movie set. This one involving knights. That is really cool. I don't remember this in the Lego movie, but it's been a long time since I saw it. Sharon Shoehorn, Sir Stackabrick, and Gallant Guard. And it comes, you can either build an actual medievally looking tower, gatehouse looking thing, or whatever this is supposed to be. But it has some parts that I know I don't have, so that is really cool. I am probably going to build this tonight. I'm trying to get caught up on my Lego videos because I've gotten so many kits that I haven't gotten around to building, so I'm hoping to do some serious Lego building tonight. So look forward to that. This, I'm sure, came from Sparky Santos, who is my own private Lego Santa Claus and who is awesome and wonderful. And I thank him profusely. So there you have it. That's it for fan mail today. If you have Q&A questions, go ahead and put them in the comment section below, and I will try to get to them next week. Thank you for watching.